Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button and the share button. And please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Ollie in versus Ollie out. Now, as you know, I've been officially Ollie out for quite some time, and I think it's obvious to see why. I do want to talk about the Ollie in brigade because they're everywhere. They're high-profile commentators. They're on fan channels. They're everywhere. Now, the Ollie inners are like, they create a situation like the JFK assassination. So was it the mob? Was it the government? Was it Oswald? Was it Trafficante? This is what's happened. So they will blame everyone apart from the person who is to blame on the pitch. Now, we know that Ed Woodward running footballing affairs isn't a good fit. We know he needs to pass the baton on in terms of the footballing side to a good director of football that the next manager brings in. I think it's very important for a director of football to have a prior relationship with the manager, and I think we've seen the benefits of that over at Manchester City, our bitter rivals, where Pep came in with the Barcelona people that he worked with, right? And they've had a great relationship. I know that they haven't had the greatest start to the season, but I still feel that the job he's done there and the reason he brought in kind of the technical people he worked with at Barcelona is one of the reasons he's been very, very successful. Plus, he's one of the greatest managers of all time. Let's not forget about that. But in terms of what's going on the pitch, the Ollie inners will convince you it's because of a lack of transfers. It's because Ollie hasn't been backed. Well, he has signed some players, hasn't he? Let's be honest about it. Listen. The failings on the pitch and the results on the pitch and the way we've played isn't down to Woodward or the Glazers. It's down to Ollie. Let me ask you this question. In his first 3 months, he was playing great football. And as soon as he got his full-time contract, right? No, even before, the results and the performances were going down. Well, the performances at least. And then I think we were all looking and saying, well, I don't think you should have made him full-time, Ed. And again, this is one of the reasons that Ed shouldn't be kind of in charge of the footballing affairs. And I agree with that. Just because you want Ollie out, it doesn't mean you defend what's going on. But I do think if you look at the Glazers' outlay since they've come to the club, it's a considerable amount of money. The issue people have got with them is that they're taking their own money out of their own business that they bought, right? I know they owe money on it. And that, they owe money on the club, and that's not great at all. It's not good for the club because if anything goes wrong with their businesses and their finances, Manchester United will be in a hell of a lot of trouble, and I agree with that. But I don't want to talk about the Glazers. The Glazers are a deflective tactic from Ollie inners. I see it all the time, and I see how they do it, and it's very, very smart. They will keep on telling you about the lack of support for transfers, that our team is terrible. Our first team is full of top quality players. The Ollie inners will deny that. Is Martial not a world-class player? Is even Greenwood, his young age, not a world-class player? Of course he is. Rashford. Congratulations, by the way, to Marcus Rashford for being awarded by the Queen an MBE. He's been feeding children of all genders and all colours during a very, very triggering time for people of colour. He could have come out and kept on going, white people this, white people that, but he came out and did something better than anyone from Black Lives Matter has ever done. He's feeding young children who are starving. And I think he's going to have to be on top of his game there because I think Johnson will announce he wants to lock down the country again and children are going to starve. But, top respect for Marcus. His form's coming back past couple of weeks as well. I think he played quite well against Spurs and Brighton, by the way. Anyway, so Rashford is world class. I think you could, Matic is world class, right? I think we can say that. Pogba is world class when he decides to turn up. So people like Bailey, people say he's not a world class defender. Really? When he's fit, and the problem is his fitness. This is what winds me up with some United fans. It's like Phil Jones. Phil Jones is called shit. and people like Bailey are called shit. They're not shit. They've been so unfortunate with injury that they've never had the match fitness to show how good they are. But we have seen how good they are in the past. And we know they're top-class defenders. The crap that Phil Jones gets and the memes and the gifs are disgusting. And I won't support that. I have laughed a couple of times, I confess, but it's wrong and I feel bad about it afterwards. So we've got a really good first team. Now, when you go down to the squad, it is correct that we need more world-class players. We brought in a couple of youngsters. Who knows if they're going to work out or not? So the squad does need filling out, and I agree with that. But these are things that are going to take time. But the thing that shouldn't take time is good coaching and organisation. And the Ollie Inners won't accept that. As I said yesterday, it's all about transfers. Buy players, buy Sancho, and we'll be fine. Let me ask you this. If we bought Sancho and not a central defender, because also they're saying that Ollie wanted a centre-back, but the Glazers wouldn't allow it. No. His choice was Sancho or a central defender, and he plumped for Sancho. Because you can understand maybe that they didn't want to spend 120, then another 50 million on a centre-back, right? You can kind of understand that. Because that is a hell of a lot of money, just around 200 million, right? So that was never going to happen. So the club was spending their time trying to convince him not to go for Sancho. It wasn't the right time. They couldn't go for him or spend that kind of money in this moment in time. And I can kind of sympathise there with the club. And I think we all can, right? And I think Ed's idea was to kind of go for 3 or 4 players. But they were so busy disagreeing about what the plan should be in the transfer window, they did nothing. That's why it is a mess. Because I actually agree with Ed here. I'm sorry, but I do. And if I get hate for it, I'm sorry. We should have gone for getting a few players rather than just plumping for the 120 million one that actually wouldn't have solved many problems, because on our day, we can be really creative. It's not like we don't have the players to be creative. Of course, Sancho would have come in and created more opportunities. He's fast. He can run at people. He can put a ball in. It's great. But he wasn't a necessity. But of course, everyone since the formation of the Premier League has been obsessed with statement signings. I probably think since the shocking Cantona transfer to Manchester United, everyone's been obsessed with statement signings. And, and I think we got to look at the real situation here. The real situation is coaching something the Ollie Inners will totally ignore, and they only go about how the club's run, the club's a mess, blah, 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 it's not Ollie's fault. And then they will go to this situation where the managerial appointments have been short-lived and they've all been sacked. And they're blaming the board for not backing these managers, because I believe Van Gaal was backed. And to a point, I think Mourinho was backed. The reason he wasn't backed in his final close season is because he was acting like a maniac and he was disagreeing with the club. And he was coming out and saying some ridiculous things. And I think the club made a mistake in appointing him, but not backing him again. I think they're right. Ollie hasn't been backed maybe like he wanted to be backed because they don't believe in him. Again, Woodward made a mistake in the appointing of the manager. If you want to have a go at Woodward, don't have a go at him about transfers. Have a go at him about his managerial appointments. Absolutely, I totally agree there. They have been wrong for the club, and this is evidence again that he shouldn't be in control of footballing affairs. And Solskjaer, giving Solskjaer a full-time contract, he was just a shot-in-the-arm manager, temporary. Then we should have brought someone like Poch in, but no. And now everyone wants him. No, not everyone, but a lot of people are defending this guy and making excuses for him. He has got a really, really good first team. Now, whether or not we're playing so badly because we didn't have much of a break and the players aren't match fit, I don't know. It could be the case. But I still can't defend, leaking the goals we did against Spurs at Old Trafford. And then away from home, we should have lost, and we were very, very lucky. And then you've got the issue of what's he actually going to do about this? What's Ollie going to do about the fact that we couldn't defend Richard Kimball? Right? I want to know. Is he going to drop Harry Maguire, dirty Harry Maguire? No, he's not going to do that because he's a coward. Is he going to drop Pogba and say, look, at the moment, Paul, you're not doing it for us. I know you've just come back. but we can't afford any passengers right now, and my job's under threat, and I need to get Man United up the table. And so, I'm going to put Van der Beek in a starting lineup. Now, Van der Beek should have been starting from the very beginning. I'm not suggesting in place of Pogba, but he should have been there. This is a player that was wanted by Barcelona. This is a world-class player that, thanks to Edwin van der Sar, and thank you, Ed, for that, we've got him. And it's an amazing acquisition because Barcelona couldn't afford him. Or was it Madrid? Can't remember. Anyway, their loss is our gain. And to bring that player and dump him on the bench, and again, I'll say what I've said in past videos, I can understand why he's pissed off about not playing. Because good players and respectful players want to play football. They're not there for the money. They're not there to be bench warmers like Ollie was, right? Don't get me wrong. Ollie was a great sub, legend, don't mind. But the point being is this lad wants to play, and this guy has earned the right to play. Why have you bought him for 40 million euros and then dumped him on the bench? And then everyone's complaining he hasn't had more money to buy more players. What, so he can dump them on the bench as well? This is the problem with Ollie Inners. They don't make much sense. I understand with their grievances and gripes about Woodward being in control of the footballing side and that we need a director of football. I totally agree with that. But the points they ignore about Ollie, he's not a very good coach. He should not be coaching Manchester United. We need a stronger manager. At the very least, we need a manager who can come in and create a unit and create a team. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is never going to be able to do that. But I want to know what you think. Are you Ollie in? Are you Ollie out? Are you fed up of the Ollie Inners justifications, as I am, and cover stories for Ollie? I think it's time that we remove this manager, shake his hand, and remember him for the great things that he did for our club. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more videos. See you again soon.